YouTube, I'm the Bearded Brother, and today we're taking a look at what are arguably two of the most prolific and popular handgun weapon mounted lights on the market. The Olight Valkyrie, in this case the Olight Baldr Pro, and the Surefire X300. So if you're not already subscribed to the channel, I would ask that you pause the video now, scroll down, look for that subscribe button, and if you see it, just gently tap that for me if you would. And without further ado, let's get into the video. All right, guys, so like I said, we are looking at two of the most prolific handgun weapon mounted lights probably on the market in general today as of January 2021. Now, we have omitted some Streamlight options. For me, you know, Streamlight kind of is like a weird middle ground. I don't feel that their lights are very compelling. I don't feel like they are pushing the edge necessarily. And, you know, for what it's worth, I don't think that their lights are very attractive or aesthetically pleasing. Neither here nor there, we're going to kind of look at some of the pros and cons of each, what each lends versus the other, and then kind of, you know, allow you guys to make an educated decision on which light you might place on your firearm. Okay, and so we can kind of let's start with the Olight, and we can work our way to the Surefire, and then I'll tell you guys which I like the most, right? All right, guys, so the Baldr Pro from Olight's coming in with some pretty decent features. Olight claims that you're going to get 1,350 lumens out of this light. That's quite a bit, and I can tell you off rip, right, that's more than what you're going to get out of the Surefire, which comes in at 1,000. But there is a bit of an asterisk, kind of a, you know, but wait, if you will, with the Olights. And the reason being is because their lights are thermally regulated. And what that essentially means is that you're not going to get that 1,350 lumens 100% of the time. After about a minute to a minute and a half, that light's going to start to heat up, and the internals, the electronics within the light are going to step down the brightness to kind of keep those internals from overheating, right? And so if you're running this thing for extended periods of time, a minute, minute and a half, 2 minutes, right, you're going to see that the light's brightness is going to dim down on its own. And once that light's had an opportunity to cool, when you switch it back on, you should be at the full 1,350 lumens, provided that you have some battery left, of course. Okay, and so they're claiming that it has a compact and very tight, focused hotspot, and so we will kind of compare the two. It does operate off of a side switch. You guys saw me actuating that earlier, and you know, one of the key differences, of course, with the Baldr is that you do have the switch on the bottom that'll allow you to jump between light and laser combo, which you see me kind of rocking with here. If you can see that green light, I'm not sure if it's going to show. And you can kind of swap between just light, just laser, or the two, of course, right? Let's see, what else do we have? It does also have a strobe function. I can tell you, you know, again, right off rip, that's not going to be present in the Surefire. It also gives you adjustable levels of brightness. So if you double tap one of these side buttons, you'll see that the light jumps up and jumps down. So if you find that maybe you're clearing a house or there's a lot of white walls, mirrors or such, and you find that that splashback is kind of blinding you, you can always double tap that and step it down to a more palatable brightness, if you will, right? It is waterproof. They claim that it's waterproof to IPX4, so not the greatest, and we'll compare that with the Surefire here in a bit. It weighs in at 4.55 ounces, and its length in inches is 3.3 inches, so not the longest light, but for the most part, relatively straightforward. Now, it does mount via Picatinny, and it has its own mount here. It's not the heftiest mount. If you guys are looking at that, I'll kind of raise it up to the camera for you. It's not the heftiest mount when compared to some of the other options on the market. It does include two Picatinny bars, if you will. One is more suited in size for, you know, your everyday Glock, and then this is the 1911 / Picatinny, you know, rail sizing, if you will. I'm sorry, 1913. But this is kind of what you get with the Baldr. Now, I've upgraded mine, if you want to call it that. I kind of stippled the buttons because they are plasticky, and I felt that my fingers were sliding off of them just a bit. But the key thing that I want to point out here, right, is that you get 1350 lumens, but it's going to step down. You do have the ability to swap between, you know, light, laser light, and any combination of the two. It does have a quick mount QD included as well, right? And so that is the Baldr Pro in a nutshell. Now I wanted to compare that to the Surefire X300, and this is X300U. So they did have some older models. I believe those only reached up to about 300 lumens, and they've since, you know, with Olight and other competitors really pumping out the lumens, right? They've kind of upgraded the X300, and now that you got these X300Us that come in at about 1,000 lumens, which we can see printed neatly there on the bottom, right? And so the Surefire, right? So with what are you getting for the extra price, right? Because we haven't touched on price just yet, but I can tell you the Surefire is quite a bit more. So what are you getting, right? Surefire, you're kind of getting that Surefire reliability, that Surefire name first and foremost, right? And so they claim that it's going to be recoil proof from 9mm up to, you know, whatever you place this thing on, right? Surefire has that tried and true track record. They are claiming, of course, it is ambidextrous, just like the Olight, right? So that is nice. It can be actuated from either side. One of the differences that you'll notice right off front, right, is that while you can actuate the X300 with the press similar to the Olight, right, the Olight will kind of allow you to press maybe from the back just a bit. It'll also allow you to kind of click it from the side. The difference being, right, this Olight has a simple one tap for, you know, constant on feature, and then you just tap that off. Or if you hold this momentarily, you'll get the momentary on, if that's what you're looking for. Now, I think with handguns, more times than not, you'll probably be doing constant on, so maybe just a quick switch. But there is a difference in operation between the two. And when you look at the Surefire, you can press, but if you do want that constant on, it's a mechanical switch, right, that kind of holds itself in place, and it can be actuated either up or down to switch that on and off. Some people like the mechanical switch because there's no digital input telling the light when to switch on and off. It's either pressing down that contact point and cutting the light on, or it's not. So there's that. Now let's talk about the attributes, the specs, if you will. You're getting 1,000 lumens out of the Surefire. Now there is no step down, there's no thermal regulation in that regard. That 1,000 lumens will last you the full 1.25 hours, okay? Now they are claiming from the Surefire 11,300 candela, so quite a bit. But when compared to what Olight's claiming, again, they're claiming 16,900 as their candela. So I'm not quite sure if that's accurate. You know, Olight, they're still kind of building their reputation, but again, on paper, Olight has higher lumen output as well as higher candela. Only downside is, right, you're kind of getting that step down. They both, of course, are going to run on the CR123A batteries. They're, you know, it's pretty standard battery in that regard. The Surefire is going to be a bit longer at 3.6 inches long. And again, we touched on that 1,000 lumen output, right? They're both made of aluminum. You know, I think I would say that the Surefire feels a bit heftier, just when you're holding them in hands, right? I'm not quite sure what type of aluminum the Olight's made out of, but this does feel slightly more premium. And as far as liquid ingress protection or waterproofing, for the layman, this is IPX7 versus the advertised IPX4 for the Olight. So quite a bit more durable if you're going to be putting your light through the ringer. Maybe opt to spend that extra money for the Surefire. But let's just go ahead and I can quickly show you guys the difference in the mounting. Right, we had a Picatinny QD lever, if you will, for the Olight. The Surefire, this is the A model, so there are two models. There's a B model. You can see that denoted there on the side of the firearm. But the B model will have a screw mount, if you will. It's a little closer to what you find on the Olight. I like this version. It works well for polymer frame handguns. But what you do have is kind of these little tabs here on the front that I'm going to kind of pull down. So as I pull these down, it just slides right off, right? You can kind of see in there how that works. It's just a bar supported by a spring, and as you pull this down, it kind of helps that Picatinny bar clear the slot on your firearm. So just holding them both in hand, right? You can see that the Surefire is a bit bigger. As far as weight, right? I think that they're very close. The Baldr is going to be a little heavier than your standard Valkyrie from Olight, because it does have the laser module kind of slapped on the bottom there. But for the most part, I think that, without getting into ounces and grams, I think that you guys aren't going to find a huge difference in the two. It's really going to come down to feature set and price, right? And so, of course, price being the most important metric, the Olight Baldr Pro. Now you can catch Olight during their flash sales sometimes, right? And those flash sales occasionally will let you get those firearms. I'm sorry, those lights at a cheaper price. But the going rate, the asking price for a Baldr Pro at this time, January 2021, is $159. So just under $160. A very good deal as far as a quality weapon light that's not going to crap out on you, right? Again, they don't have the same battle ruggedness and reliability, or at least reputation for reliability, that Surefire's got. But the Olights have been used by quite a few folks, and as I said before, they're kind of still building that reputation, right? But at $160, it's a very compelling price point. Now, when compared to the X300U, now again, there's an A and a B variety of this model. They both, MSRP is going to be $299. So we're talking about $300 for a light, and arguably a light with slightly lesser specs, if you will, right? We got supposedly a higher output from this light when compared to the Surefire. You can kind of even see the difference in the color. Now, I don't think you guys are going to be able to differentiate, which is brighter. This is the Olight here on the left, Surefire here on the right, and they are both cut on to max brightness. Now, what I'll do is just put that Olight over the Surefire side. Again, I don't think that you guys are really going to be able to notice a difference as I kind of put them on the wall here behind the camera. I will say that the Olight's hotspot does seem to be a bit more defined. It's a sharper edge, if you will. The X300 is allowing me to get a little bit more, not necessarily splash, but a little bit more flood, maybe, and ever so slightly. Again, these are both pistol lights. They're relatively tight focus, and they're not going to, splash the whole room with light. But when it comes down to the price, right, it's pretty cut and dry. The Olight certainly wins. Now, I'm going to kind of go ahead and wrap this video up because I feel like I've been talking a lot. Which one do I recommend? Which one do I like most now that I have both? I got to keep it real with you guys. I like the Surefire more. It could just be because I'm into Gucci stuff and I like the pro grade gear, right? And I've always been that way. If there's 3 shelves, high shelf, mid shelf, and low shelf, I never go low shelf. I'll always at least go to the middle or to the high shelf, and that's kind of where you'll find the Surefires. Like I said, $300 for a light is a bit much. Now I was able to find this one for a good deal. I think I paid about $230, so saved a bit of money on that, but still substantially more expensive than the Olights and the Baldr Pro in this instance. So let that say what it will, guys. They both, again, possess very similar features. A protruding head, if you will. They both do have a slight cranulation, kind of castling or battlement kind of style to the rim of the housing, so that if you ever did need to use it as a striking tool, you do have that option. And again, the weights on these guys very similar. As I hold them in hand, right, it's hard to tell the difference, and so that's the reason I haven't even pulled out the spec sheet, right? Because day to day, I don't think that you're going to notice. But again, for me and my needs, I think that the Surefire is a better light. That does not discount the Olight. I just personally would not carry this light. Again, this is going on to the 19X, And this currently lives on a 9mm PCC AR9 build that I have, just a home defense kind of setup. And the reason that the Olight sits on that is because I wear corrective lenses, contacts, and glasses. And occasionally I might be sleeping and not have them on. And if that's the case, I need a way to not only illuminate my target, but I need a way to target and sight. And that's where this this laser comes in, right? I can't, with my vision, as bad as it is, I can't see the red dot on my, or through my optic. It's just a blur. But I can see, right, a bright green laser on a figure in the distance. And then, of course, I can illuminate that figure as well as light it with this light. So that's the reason I've got this one. It serves a purpose, but I would not say that these are battle ready, right? If you're putting something on your SHTF build or your everyday carry or your duty gun, I'd stick with something that's a little bit more tried and true, like Surefire. It's going to hit you a little bit more as far as, you know, the pockets, but I think you'll be better off for it. So without further ado, guys, I'm the Bearded Brother. I'm gone. I hope you found the video useful.